Save the bull ring. Here's ABC's Chuck Sievertson.
6 veteran bullfighters performed for free recently in Colombia to raise money to save the centuries-old tradition. Colombia's Senate recently approved a nationwide ban. Its House of Representatives narrowly voted down an earlier ban, but could take it up again. Almost every bovine raised by man ends up in a slaughterhouse, says Gonzalo Sanz de Santa Maria, a bull breeder. But he adds the bull dies in a temple, admired, applauded, showing its bravery. Opponents call bullfighting cruel and unethical, with slow and painful deaths. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
This is ABC News.
How long does it take to tackle a home project? With Angie, you could cross it off your list before this ad is over. Just tell us what you need. Indoor or outdoor, repair or redesign, and we handle the rest, sending a top pro to get it done. You don't have to lift a finger, except to tap the screen or click the mouse. Plus, Angie is free to use. So bring us your next home project, and we'll bring it home. Download the app or go to Angie.com. That's ANGI.com to get started.
Sherry Preston, ABC News.
We have freezing temperatures to start, but temperatures will be warming up for this afternoon. Highs will reach the low to upper 60s, and it's going to be a seasonable afternoon. Tonight, we're down into the upper 30s and lower 40s. Temperatures tomorrow will range from the upper 50s to the upper 60s. We do have rain that will be moving in with a mid to upper level disturbance developing across our region. I'm meteorologist Peter Sherwood in the Weather Center.
Well, we are out of the freezer locker now. We're 33 degrees, warming up to about 60 for a daytime high on this beautiful, beautiful Tuesday morning. It's the second day of springtime here in the foothills, and another great getting up morning. 5 minutes after 9 o'clock in time for My Great America with Jim and Butch.
It's time now for My Great America with Jim and Butch, a conversation about positive things about this great country. And now here are Jim and Butch.
Well, let's welcome Butch to the microphone from faraway places. Good morning, Butch. How are you?
Good morning, Jim. I'm doing well. Listen, I'm going to start out this morning, My Great America with Jim and Butch, the way that I do wherever I am, whatever part of the country or the world. I've been doing this now for years. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness, O Lord. Great is thy faithfulness. They are new every morning, new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness, O Lord. Great is thy faithfulness. Jim, I'm gonna reference that chorus at the end of the program for reasons that people will understand. But in the meantime, I'm back up here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. You know what I was thinking? They ought to put me on some kind of a retainer for the tourism board for Lancaster.
Well, that would be a good idea. Tell us how your mom's doing.
You know what? Thank you. She's dealt with a lot of health issues, and the devil is such a liar. And a couple days ago, when I just got here, we're sitting there, and she made me some crackers and some cheese, and of course she's 90. She'll turn 91 later this year, and all of a sudden she said, "Oh, I think I broke a tooth," and it's like one thing after another. Our bodies are like cars, I guess, and after the odometer hits 300,000 miles, everything starts to kind of need attention. And so I've been up here. I take very seriously the biblical injunction about helping widows, and helping your parents. And, she's been a widow now since 1990, and so I have the opportunity to come up and just help her. So, you get older, and your life is organized often around doctor's appointments, isn't it?
Yes, It is. It sure is, and it's worthy that we all take notice of what you just said. In fact, looking after the elderly, who many of them can't look after themselves without some help. So I admire you greatly for the attitude
Well,
you've taken toward that.
And Jim, it's a blessing to do it, and we need to remember the Ten Commandments talks about honoring your parents, and it's something that is a commandment that has promise as well. But anyway, I get the opportunity to come up here to beautiful Lancaster County, and I've had some people ask me, what is it about the Amish, by the way? And Lancaster is one of the highest density concentrations of Amish in the country. And some people have asked, what are the Amish? Well, of course, the first Amish came in the early 18th century. And the reason, Jim, they came was, like so many came to this country, they came to escape religious persecution and to farm the land. The first sects actually came out of a 17th century schism that was between an Anabaptist church, the followers of somebody named Jacob Ammon. And Amish is derived actually from his name. And he was a Swiss minister, and he believed that every adherent should conform to the teachings of Christ and his apostles. But this was the important part: forsake the world in their daily lives. And the language, because people will ask the question, what kind of language is it that they're speaking? The Pennsylvania Dutch are not Dutch at all. The word Dutch is a corruption of Deutsch or German, and because they all speak an isolated kind of language. It's a very different pronunciation than current German, but it's been influenced a lot by English. And so some Amish, notably in Indiana, speak a version that's closer to Swiss and German. So they have kind of their own language. And, when you look at the history of the Amish, and there are over 35,000 Amish here in Lancaster County, farming was at the center of their lives. And so the population grew very fast due to large families. And the reason the families were large is they needed laborers to help with all of the farming and different things that they were doing. They initially settled in Ohio. They're now found in 30 states as well as Canada. And the three largest concentrations in terms of states in the United States are Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Indiana. And what's interesting is, according, Jim, and I was up late last night looking at this, according to the Young Center for Anabaptist and Pietist Studies at Elizabethton College in Lancaster, their population has risen from about 5,000 in 1920 to almost 300,000 today. They are actually one of the fastest growing population groups of all population groups in America. And a lot of things that people don't know, I'll give you a couple of little trivia points about them. They are taxed on their earnings. They pay all the same taxes: income, property, sales, corporate, school. They pay all of that. However, they do not pay or collect Social Security, and they were actually exempted by Congress in 1965 because the Amish view Social Security as a form of commercial insurance. Instead, they believe that the members of the church should care for one another. And they've also been exempted from workers' compensation. They're also exempt from military service because they believe in non-resistance, which is like pacifism. This applies not only to war, but they will not become involved in law enforcement, politics, or legal actions. And just a couple of other quick trivia points about them, because we see some Amish, of course, in our county as well.
Yes, we do. There's quite a few in this area.
Yeah, and you'll know it when you see the not the exhaust from a car, but the droppings from a horse at Walmart.
Right.
So in any event, the Amish life is governed by something called Ordnung. It's a German word for order, and the rules vary from community to community, but most Amish groups, Jim, forbid owning automobiles, tapping into electricity from public utility lines, using self-propelled farm machinery, owning a television, a radio, a computer, attending high school and college, joining the military, and initiating divorce. And they ban photos because they believe if people take photos or selfies, for example, it would cultivate personal vanity, which runs against the church's prohibition of hokmat, which is a word that means pride, arrogance, or haughtiness. And the Amish children, by the way, typically only attend school through the 8th grade, mostly at private schools, but about 10% in public schools. And their right to end school at the age of 14 was confirmed by a 1972 Supreme Court ruling. And the instruction is in both English and their German dialect. Now, one other quick thing. According to the Young Center, at the age of 16, youth socialize with their friends on weekends. And it's something called Rumspringa. And it ends with marriage if people decide to get married. But the other important thing is they call it like a wild year, if you will. It's very interesting because at the end of that year, 16 to 17, they make a decision about whether or not they're committed to remain Amish the rest of their lives. So those are a couple of little interesting things. 70% of the Amish live in 3 states, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Indiana. Here in North Carolina, of course, Union Grove, a rural township halfway between Winston-Salem and Boone, is the only active, larger Amish settlement in North Carolina. But they are New Order. They can use electricity, but they still use animal traction for transportation. I just thought some of that was interesting.
That is interesting. Let me ask you a question. How does that, it raises my curiosity, how are they different from the Mennonites, who also have...
That's a very, very good question, very common question. The best way to say it is that the outward expression is different between the Mennonites and the Amish. Their core theological views and interpretations of Scripture are pretty much the same, but the Mennonites are ones that have a more liberal interpretation of how those things work themselves out into your daily lives in terms of behavior and what you can do and what you can't do. So it's the same basic taproot theologically, but the expression in lifestyle, the best way to look at it is that, of course, the Amish are more conservative and the Mennonites less so.
Well, we know for a fact both the Amish and the Mennonites are great cooks. Those ladies know how to cook.
You know what, Jim? This is how you know. It's almost like a marriage. This is how you know that you kind of know somebody, and without even talking with each other, I was about to segue into foods. And you just mentioned that without any prompting. That's how well we've gotten to know each other over the several hundred programs we've done with My Great America.
Yes.
Now listen, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to give you a quick little quiz here. All right.
All right.
Tell me what you know about shoe fly pie.
All I know about it is the name. I do not know anything about the ingredients. I have heard that expression a long time, and I know it's kind of a country tradition, maybe even an Amish tradition, but I don't know anything about the ingredients.
It's got a crumbly top to it, and it's gooey in the inside. It looks like a train wreck on the top of it, but it's absolutely delicious and sweet.
I know I would like.
What do you know about? What do you know about Dutch cabbage rolls? Now, do you like cabbage or no?
I do. Yes, I love cabbage. I don't know anything about that.
Well, Dutch cabbage rolls are also an Amish part of the Amish culinary fare. These cabbage rolls can have different things stuffed in them, but you know the cabbage essentially is the container for whatever you put in it, and they're known for making these Dutch cabbage rolls. Now, of course, you know what a pot pie is.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and pot pies, they've got many different varieties, beef and chicken and the like, of course, all homemade. These are basically the top 10 popular Amish foods. The next one is apple butter. Do you like apple butter?
I do like apple butter, and I eat that a lot when I can get my hands on some.
Okay, well, that is a big Amish thing is apple butter. And, of course, during the times when different orchards are ready to have apples that they sell, you'll see a lot of apple butter up here in Lancaster and in other Amish communities. What about chow chow? You know what chow chow is?
Yes, I do know what chow chow is. I love chow chow.
You do?
Yes.
Well, explain to people what it is.
It's I think it's cabbage cooked up to be it's like a relish, kind of like a relish that you could put on a hamburger or eat it as a side dish. But I don't know the difference between what a relish and a chow chow is, maybe other than the way it's cooked, maybe.
Yeah. Well, you know, they make many different kinds of chow chow, and people will eat it alone. People will use it as a garnish on meats and other things. It's got a vinegary kind of undertone to it. Chow Chow's another big one. Here's one that's also extremely popular. That's creamed chipped beef.
Yes, yes. I've had that many times. Matter of fact,
Okay.
we used to have that a lot in the military.
Well, did you look forward to it, or probably not? It's probably cooked differently than the Amish cook.
Yes, but so yes.
Yeah, and then another, just a couple more here. Another are homemade donuts. They make homemade donuts, Jim, that will absolutely tempt you to move away from any kind of dieting that you're doing. All kinds of different homemade donuts, and then they have a version up here in the Northeast. They have a version of our liver mush that they call scrapple.
Scrapple. I've not had that.
Well, scrapple is kind of liver mush on steroids. I don't know how, and you know what? The word describes exactly what it is. It's all the stuff on the butcher's floor.
Oh my!
I'm not saying it goes to the floor, but it's just parts.
Yes,
Parts
right,
are
sure.
parts, and it's all the different parts. And when you read the ingredients, this on the little cake, it comes to the same kind of bricks, like you get liver mush in. Jim, when you read the ingredients, you forgot that animals have so many different parts to them.
I'll have to try that. Is that sold locally, or is that just a Pennsylvania dish?
It's actually more of a Northeast thing,
Yeah.
and there's some subtle differences that I don't know between liver mush and scrapple. But scrapple is a big deal. Basically, it's more often than not, you get a slice of it like you would with eggs and all of the like. It's more of a breakfast thing. Two more, by the way. These are the top 10 most popular Amish foods. Two more: homemade bread.
Oh,
Their
yes.
breads
Oh yes.
absolutely incredible. All of their confections are incredible. And then they also have something that is an amazing comfort food, among other things. And they make all these different versions of buttered noodles. Buttered noodles. They're
Butter.
big on butter, and of course there's an Amish butter that you can get that's incredible. So anyway, those are the top 10 most popular Amish foods: shoe fly pie, Dutch cabbage rolls, pot pies, apple butter, chow chow, cream chip beef, homemade donuts, scrapple, homemade bread, and buttered noodles.
Sound like a good meal.
It does, and they're known also for their industry, for their hard work, but also, Jim, for their craftsmanship. You see Amish furniture; they're incredibly skilled when it comes to woodworking, and beyond that, very, very industrious, and also known for their commitment to help each other. The term an Amish barn raising. If somebody has a barn that burns down, the entire community comes together and they accomplish an amazing amount of work
Yes.
in a short period of time because they all flow together. So, and you know who it reminds me of?
No.
My church.
Oh yes. Yes, you're right. They
Yeah,
come
yeah,
together to help one another out as well.
Exactly. And when you all flow together, you work together, you work hard, but you work, prompted by God's leading and God's Spirit, incredible things can happen. So I get the opportunity to come up here with some frequency to help my mother. People that care about her, and I often get texts or calls asking. She's had to work through a number of physical things, and so just keep praying for her along the way.
I know she's happy to have you up there.
Well, she is, but the thing that I've learned is it doesn't matter if your mother is 90 or if she's 29, she's still your mother, right?
Yes, that's right.
And I make sure my bed is made. Jim, I want to segue into something else here real quick, and it reminded me this morning. I was reading in Luke chapter 12, and I found myself at verse 42, and verse 42, it says, "The Lord said, 'Who then is the faithful and wise steward of the estate, whom his master will put in charge over his household to give his servants their portion of food at the proper time. It was a question that Jesus asked, and that question actually leads, Jim, to something that I guess has now been confirmed, which is that March 31st is your last day at WCAB.
It seems like that's the case. The attorney's next thing to do is the attorneys got to get together, sign the papers, and they'll escort me out of the building, I guess.
You know, Jim, I could not help but this morning get up, and it was with tears of thankfulness. You know, I've only been here 5.5 years. But in my 5.5 years, Jim, I have watched and continue to watch the faithful servant of the Lord steward a radio station towards excellence and community impact. And it has been one of the most powerful expressions to me of faithful service, especially in the space that you're in. A lot of people don't realize the incredible multitasking that has to happen when you're the owner and the manager of a station. There is a lot going on. You're dealing with broadcast clients. You're dealing with production schedules. Of course, you've got a great team there, you know, with Lou and Tracy and others. But it is a lot to manage. And, Jim, I have not seen you rattled. Now, you may, when you go get your coffee and you shut the door back in your office, you may be exasperated, you may be frustrated, I don't know. But I have watched you with grace deal with some incredibly complicated situations. You know, when you look back on it, Jim, and this is not a eulogy, and we're certainly not putting you in a morgue, but when you look back on it, what has helped you keep your steady gait in the midst of all of it? What are the things that have helped?
Well, I don't know how to put that in words, actually, but years ago when I started in business, both here as others, business I had, I always tried to remember that to do it, try to do it right the first time, not have to repeat it, and treat people as though their heart's breaking, because it probably is, and treat them with respect and honor, even though they may step on your feet and slap you in the face. You need to still treat them fairly and honest with them, and be honest to your clients and do the best for them, even though if you have to take a back seat sometime. And I just felt like it was important as a business owner, businessman, to look at people and understand that we're all God's children, and we need to be treated in such a way, and in spite of the scars and the blemishes that may come our way, and the disagreements that we have from time to time. But we're all still God's children, and we all have a task, we all have a purpose, and God appoints us all to do something different from other people, and whatever our task is, whatever our job is our responsibility to do it in the best we can do it, in honor and recognition of the reason God put us here.
That is so solid. And you know what, the thing that really strikes me as you say that, Jim, is humility. I mean, it says in Scripture we're to prefer others, prefer others before our own agenda. Greater love has no person than this, no man than this, than to lay down their life for their friends. And, Jim, I have seen you do that in my life. I've seen you do it in the lives of so many different people. One of the earliest expressions to me of your community impact, soon after we started My Great America with Jim and Butch, is I happened to be in the office at WCAB on one of those inimitable days when our mutual friend Ella walked through the door.
Yes.
and for people that have never met Ella helps with some of the custodial things to keep WCAB in good order and in good shape. And when she walked through the door and started telling me about, I love that Jim Bishop, I love him so much. It said to me that it doesn't matter a person's station in life or what their function in life is. I've watched Jim treat everybody the same. So whether it's a chairman of the county commissioners, or whether it's somebody off the street that comes up and says, I sure love your morning program, or the staff, I've watched you treat with equality and respect people from all different stations of life. And that, Jim, I think is one of those things that you have planted in the county that is going to continue to bloom and blossom and grow, even as your role changes. And I'm sure looking forward to flinging seed out there with you in the days ahead. And I've actually done a little bit of checking and researching on this idea of the My Great America bus tours. So as you get alignment on what's next for you, I just think there are going to be some great days ahead.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I look forward to having you back in the Blue Room with us again soon so we can continue this great honor and recognition of our great country.
Exactly, Jim. You know, it's a wonderful country. It's a wonderful county. The friendship with you is wonderful, and I'm grateful. God bless America.
God bless America.
Thank you for joining us for My Great America with Jim and Butch. Join us each Tuesday and Thursday morning at 9:05 for this enlightening program on 100.9 FM and 590 AM. It's My Great America with Jim and Butch.